Hi, I'm Alex Mozed. Welcome to Wholesale Leadership End of Week Wrap-Ups. And I'm joined by Nick Johnson, co-author with me on the book Modern Monopolies and managing director at Applico. So, put us on the clock. First topic is Grainger. You've heard a lot about Grainger, I would imagine. Grainger, probably many years ago, did not like so much the topic of marketplace. But that seems to have changed, right, Nick?
Yeah, you've seen Grainger pretty aggressively embrace marketplace over the last, I'd say 24 months here. They're now have gone in the last few years from, I think, 1.8 to 6 million SKUs, and they've got 10 million plus SKU growth goals. And the only way you're doing that is by embracing marketplace. And they've been out there now pretty visibly and aggressively recruiting third-party sellers.
You can see here a mapping 1.8 million SKUs in 2017 at $500 million. For example, then 2019, they had 640 million in revenue for Zorro and 3.5 million SKUs, so almost doubling their SKU count. And then in 2020, so 1 year later, over $700 million in Zorro revenue and 6 million SKUs. So almost doubling those SKUs every year or a couple of years. And why is that SKU count so important, Nick?
They're competing against Amazon in this space, and Amazon's got the product breadth, and that's a number of B2B surveys. That's the number one thing if you're looking at B2B customers. They're looking to buy everything in one place. That's increasingly becoming the table stakes for them. So if I'm Grainger and I'm competing against Amazon, they've realized pretty quickly we have to do this or we're not in the game.
And the SKU count also is indicative that the only way you can onboard that many SKUs is to have really sophisticated product data capabilities, really sophisticated technology infrastructure to onboard all these different third-party sellers, to route the orders and handle the fulfillment logistics, to have really good product descriptions, right? You can't make sense to know, do I have 6 million unique SKUs or is 25% of these things duplicates, right? There are a myriad of challenges when you're trying to deal with that much data at that much scale and adding, millions of SKUs each year. To me, showing that level of SKU growth is indicative of a much more mature, broader technology capability inside of Grainger and Zorro to be able to pull off that aggressive SKU growth. So kudos to Grainger and Zorro for having built out that capability over many years now.
On the product data point, that's a good segue to our next topic, Material Bank, which is another one where product data, you'll see this theme a lot when we talk about marketplaces, is a key part of what they do. They've got tens of thousands of designers, hundreds of manufacturers, and designers would think there's no way you could handle all these products. We can't even do it. No, the brands can't even do it themselves. But they have very robust technology with, I think, like 100 million plus data points around product data. And that's really what enables them to thrive.
Material Bank has raised about $150 million in equity capital. They just did another fundraise this summer. They raised another $100 million. They're a hair under $1 billion unicorn valuation at $975 post-money valuation. So they raised $100 million in May. And the amazing thing about Material Bank, to Nick's point, is that they have hundreds of thousands of SKUs with millions, if not hundreds of millions of data points about these different SKUs. And what they're doing is sending samples, basically same day. So if you submit a request to get a sample for these products in your construction, product kind of prototyping, product speccing process, you're making a product, you're building a house, they'll get it to you by 10 a.m. the next day. Yes, that seems insane. How do they do that? Well, one of the ways they do that is by leveraging a company called Locus Robotics here. Locus Robotics, you can see some of this video, has robots that are assisting the pick, particularly the pick and also the pack part of the process. So you send an order at midnight. Between the robots and the humans, they can get 2 to 3x the productivity to take that product off the shelf, put it in a box, and basically same day / overnight it to you and get it to you literally within 12 hours throughout the continental United States. So it's really impressive, this model. That's kind of their hook to say, hey, you no longer need to go to a physical store, right? If you're shopping for construction goods or building materials, you want to look and feel them to put them in your house. Now you don't need to go to the store. You could actually just get these samples delivered to you literally within 24 hours or faster. So it's starting to move away from this model where you need all of these physical distribution locations that serve both as fulfillment centers, but also as places for people to tour and look at the product and feel the product. That's really what this company, Material Bank, is chipping away at, which is so interesting. When you actually get the sample and buy the products, Material Bank doesn't make money from that. What they're actually doing is selling that information that you've ordered these samples back to the manufacturer. So what's interesting about this, though, is they are going around that distribution channel, right? They're connecting the designer, the contractor, with the supplier, and then feeding that information back to the supplier. But they're not actually trying to facilitate the sale of those goods, at least just not yet. So it's a very interesting business model in terms of how they actually make money. It's not in your traditional kind of marketplace take rate fashion that you see with an Amazon or a Grainger, a Zorro, and these kinds of take rates.
It does highlight, though, the threat to distributors of some marketplace models, where there are some that kind of embrace distributors, but there are a lot that go around them and enable manufacturers to go direct. We've seen this in a number of other industries, chemicals, metals, et cetera. There's a lot of threat here of just enabling manufacturers to go direct and then taking all the pain out of that because they're not able to do it on their own.
Okay, last topic. The NAW released a white paper called Developing a Marketplace Strategy. We participated in the creation of this report. Surprise, surprise. They did a webinar a few months ago that we were also speaking at. Take a look at this report. You can get it on the NAW site. Then if you go back down to the bottom of this, it talks about, right, okay, what does this actually mean for distributors and for large distributors, which is who we're talking to on these wholesale leadership wrap-up videos, how you need to own and participate in the channel. And that really is the key difference, where if you're sub $1 billion in revenue as a B2B distributor, you really need to look at it as more of a participant. But when you're over $1 billion in revenue, this now is not just a threat. This is an opportunity to say there's a new business model. There's a new way to interact with my customers and potentially new customers, and to use technology to solve classic age-old problems in your industry. That's really what all of these B2B marketplaces that are in our top 50 ranking at the bottom of this, these top 50 B2B marketplaces didn't get to where they are simply just by connecting buyer and seller, right? They have to solve other challenges to overcome what we call this chicken and egg problem. And that really is the magic, right? If this was just as simple as saying, hey, buyer, hey, seller, why don't you just connect and transact? This would have been done decades ago. Actually, 20 years ago, when B2B marketplaces were all the rave at the turn of the century. So these top 50 B2B marketplaces, if you are a large wholesaler over $1 billion in revenue, the question for you is to say, I want to go analyze these top 50 B2B marketplaces. I want to go learn how are they using technology to solve product data challenges, to solve connectivity challenges, right? To solve classic age-old problems that have existed for decades in your industry, because that's what they're doing to overcome the chicken and egg problem, to get to scale. You don't get to scale just by saying, yeah, here's a marketplace, and let people transact. What would you add, Nick?
Even just in our top 10, there's a bunch of great examples here. Go look at Fair, providing net 60 payment terms. Look at Indigo, providing logistics support. Farmers Business Network, providing crop insurance and other kinds of insurance alongside that to their customers.
If you're doing over $1 billion in revenue, I guarantee you should be exploring. If you're looking at the former, you should be exploring the latter. You should be saying, what does a partnership look like? What could an investment look like? What could an acquisition look like? And if not of the marketplace, what are the key technologies that the marketplace is providing, which is getting traction, right? And are there other tech companies in your industry that are providing the technologies? Maybe they don't have the marketplace dynamic, right? But they have the technology that with a large wholesaler distributor's scale, you can take that technology and build out some of these marketplace dynamics. Case in point would be to look at one of our clients, Dot Foods, their acquisition of Shop Hero. Shop Hero is not a marketplace company. Shop Hero is providing e-commerce storefronts and tools and product data to small grocery retailers and helping to bring them online. And that is a very significant challenge, as you can imagine, for all distributors and retailers. So Dot's in a great position where they can actually invest in these technology tools bring their existing scale of over 100,000 SKUs in food service and retailer, food products, leverage their scale, and then couple that with the technology that comes from a Shop Hero. So it's not a one size fits all solution. Just go do marketplace. But there's a lot to learn from these B2B marketplaces that you could either try to emulate or look at other tech companies and how they could bring those skill sets in-house.